Before you go one word further, I must tell you this plainly. If you do not listen to this entire message with full attention, if you allow yourself to drift even for a moment, the very transformation you claim to seek will escape you again, just as it has in the past. There is no man alive who can think negative thoughts and live a positive life. There is no woman who can plant fear in her mind and reap courage in her deeds. If your life has become a tangle of frustration, bitterness, confusion, and quiet despair, I will tell you the truth without apology. It is not because of your circumstances. It is because of your thoughts. Now listen closely, because if you do, and if you obey what you are about to hear, you will never again be the same. You will learn why some men live in mansions and yet curse every morning, while others rise from ash and ruin with a spirit so strong they build empires out of dust. You will see why the strongest among us are not those with money or comfort, but those who have mastered the inner kingdom of their own thought. You will be shown that you were not made to fail. You were designed by infinite intelligence to think, to choose, to build, and to rise. That means if you are suffering, it is not your destiny. It is your disobedience to that design. And that disobedience ends now. In this speech, you will learn that every single thought you dwell on attracts its brothers. Negative thoughts breed more negativity, just as positive ones multiply with power. That your speech is not harmless. It is the seed of your reality. You will be taught how to command your life with your words, that your conditions have no meaning. You assign it. You will become the kind of person who turns crisis into purpose, that the real poison is complaint, the real prison is indecision, and the real cure is a burning, definite chief aim. You will be shown how to catch every weak thought, reject it like an invader, and replace it with a command of power. And above all, you will be made to understand this eternal truth. Repetition is power. Repetition is identity. Repetition is law. But if you treat this message like the others, if you nod your head but do not write your affirmations, if you agree in spirit but refuse to act in the flesh, then mark my words, you will return to the same negative patterns that brought you to the edge of surrender. You are not here to be entertained. You are here to be rebuilt. And that rebuilding begins now. You will either finish this speech and rise a new man, or you will stop halfway and remain as you were, defeated by your own mind. So I ask you plainly, will you rise or will you drift? Let us begin. Part 1. The two experts. One rich and bitter, one poor and victorious. Let me tell you something the world refuses to admit. There are two kinds of experts in life. One is the man who has gained the outward signs of success, money, houses, reputation, and yet curses life with every breath. The other is the man who has been stripped of possessions, battered by life, yet walks with certainty, speaks with power, and builds again from nothing. You must decide which one you will be. You see, success is not a matter of what you hold in your hands. It is a matter of what you hold in your mind. A man may drive the finest automobile and still drift without purpose. Another may walk barefoot in the dust, yet carry within him a definite chief aim, and by that aim rule his world. Wealth of mind always precedes wealth of pocket. I have known men who had everything and lived as if they had nothing. I have known men who had nothing but lived as if they owned the universe. Why? Because their mental attitude was the difference. Because they believed in their capacity to think, to choose, to speak, to act. And that belief made them rich long before the world noticed it. You will never measure a man's success by his salary, nor his value by his applause. You measure him by the quality of his thoughts, the definiteness of his purpose, the order of his emotions, and the manner in which he conducts himself when everything falls apart. That is where success begins. That is where character is formed. There is a man I knew who gained great riches, great fame, and great attention. The world applauded him. He dined with kings and walked among executives, and yet every morning he rose in torment. He feared the loss of his money. He distrusted every man who praised him. He spoke more often of betrayal than of vision. He was rich in body and bankrupt in mind. Then there was another man, a clerk in a dusty town, forgotten by the world, denied opportunity by his station. Yet he rose before the sun, declared aloud his chief aim each morning, and treated every moment as a stepping stone. He spoke with confidence. He gave without fear. And within 10 years he employed men who once laughed at him. The difference was not luck, it was thought. No man is poor who possesses the ability to control his thought. And no man is rich if his thought controls him. The former becomes the master of fate. The latter becomes a servant to fear. Now let me ask you, which are you? Are you the man who commands his mind, or the man who lets the world command it for him? I say this without apology. If your current condition rules your mind, then you have already lost. But if your mind rules your condition, then nothing can stop you. This is not philosophy, it is law. The man who learns to think positively, precisely, and persistently, even when the bank account is low, the house is shaking, and the friends are few, that man has already begun to rise. Look closely at your own life. What happens when adversity strikes? Do you curse, collapse, or cry out in blame? Or do you rise, direct your thought, and declare, "This too shall pass, but I shall remain"? The man who can hold his mind steady in the midst of storms will one day command the storm itself. You must understand, there is no honor in misery. There is no virtue in complaint. There is no nobility in living as a slave to your emotion. The bitter man wants sympathy. The victorious man wants power. You cannot be both. Now let me give you the law. Thought is the root of all riches. Circumstances are the shadow. The man who chases the shadow never finds the root, but the man who cultivates right thinking in silence will one day enjoy its fruits in public. I say this as a warning to every man who has grown comfortable in his complaints. Your misery is not your master, it is your excuse, and if you do not burn it, it will bury you. There is a reason I speak with such intensity. It is because I have seen men on the edge of surrender, broken, tired, hopeless, who chose to speak power instead of pity, and in that moment, something eternal took root. Their condition did not change overnight, but their identity did, and that identity began to build a new world around them. Do not wait for change to think rightly. Think rightly and change will come. Most men wait for their income to rise before they lift their spirits. But the man of faith lifts his spirit and then commands his income. He becomes what he decides to become, first in mind, then in deed. The bitter man may inherit money, but he will always lose it. The positive man may inherit trouble, but he will always conquer it. Why? Because he obeys the law. The law that says, I become what I think about, backed by faith, persistence, and definiteness of purpose. I challenge you today, this very hour, to inspect your thought. Who sits on the throne of your mind? Is it the world's opinion? Is it your failures? Or is it your purpose, your belief, your faith in infinite intelligence? Do not let the man of riches and sorrow fool you into imitation. Let the man of hardship and hope awaken something higher in you. For he has learned what matters most, that no condition can defeat the man who refuses to be defeated in thought. Speak it now, not as a wish, but as a decision. No condition can defeat me. No storm can shake me. No voice of fear may enter unless I permit it. I will think only what builds me. I will repeat only what strengthens me. I am not a product of conditions. I am a creator of them. You may be clothed in poverty, but crowned in power. You may walk through hardship, but speak with authority. You may have little, but if you command your mind, you have everything you need to begin again. And you must begin this moment with decision, with thought, with purpose. For the one who chooses his mind chooses his future. Let us move forward. Part 2. You were not made to fail. You were formed for victory. You were not made to fail. You were not placed here to drift, to bow, to hide, or to surrender. You were created by infinite intelligence, not for fear, but for faith, not for weakness, but for work, not for failure, but for fulfillment. That is the truth. Every time you think otherwise, you rebel against the very law of your being. The birds do not question whether they are meant to fly. The trees do not wonder whether they are meant to grow. And yet man, gifted with thought, imagination, decision, and will, questions his own capacity to succeed. Why? Because he has been taught by fear, trained by drift, and hypnotized by weakness. But let me say this clearly. Failure is man-made. It is not from God. No man is born with failure in his heart. Every child is born with desire. Watch them. They reach, they try, they fall, they rise again. They do not know how to quit until they are taught, and the world teaches them, slowly, daily, through fear, ridicule, and mediocrity, to abandon that divine spark. But I say to you now, reclaim it. You were formed for triumph, not by accident, not by mistake. Infinite intelligence gave you dominion over one thing, your own mind. And if you master that, you master all things. That is the great secret of every man who has risen from obscurity into greatness. Do you imagine that Abraham Lincoln was destined for sorrow when he was born in a log cabin? Do you think Thomas Edison was chosen for failure when he was labeled unteachable? Do you believe Andrew Carnegie, a poor boy with nothing but vision, was meant to suffer? No. Each of these men chose to think in obedience to their design. They did not accept the verdict of the world. They did not agree with the voices of limitation. They did not conform to circumstance. Instead, they commanded themselves to rise. They chose thought over reaction. And that choice, made daily, lifted them from anonymity to immortality. You must understand, there is no fixed destiny. There is only the use or misuse of the mind. When a man thinks with definiteness, speaks with purpose, acts with faith, and persists with discipline, he aligns himself with law. And the law always rewards obedience. Let me make this plain. You do not fail because you lack ability. You fail because you surrender belief. The world may strip you of opportunity, but only you can strip yourself of the right to think with power. And the moment you reclaim that right, you begin again, not as a victim, but as a builder. I have met many men who claimed to be broken, but when I asked them what they truly believed about themselves, they said, "I am not enough. I am too late. I am too far gone." And I told them this: those thoughts are not yours. They were planted in you by fear. You do not have to accept them. You can replace them, and those who did rose. Do not confuse pain with purpose. Do not confuse delay with denial. Do not confuse the opinion of man with the plan of infinite intelligence. You are here now, breathing, thinking, listening, deciding. That alone proves you are still in possession of power. Your body may be weary. Your finances may be thin. Your relationships may be strained. But if your mind is still yours, then you have not yet been defeated. For as long as you can think clearly, you can choose victory. And the man who chooses it, without needing to see it, becomes the man who finally sees it. Let us return to law. The Creator gave you 6 gifts: imagination, reason, will, perception, memory, and intuition. Why would he give you these if you were meant to fail? Why give you the tools of a king if you were born to beg? It would be a contradiction of nature, and nature does not contradict itself. Failure is not your nature. It is your training. It is your habit. It is the result of thinking thoughts that do not belong to a man formed for victory. Thoughts of doubt, complaint, comparison, and fear are foreign to your spirit, and when you entertain them, you weaken the signal of your soul. But thoughts of faith, decision, purpose, and gratitude, these are native to your nature. They awaken your power. They align you with the unseen forces of success. They open doors that fear has shut. They call opportunities out of the unknown. I will say it again. You were not made to fail. You were made to rise. You were made to think. You were made to build. and the only thing standing between you and that future is whether or not you will choose to believe it enough to act upon it. You have heard me speak of the definite chief aim. That is your blueprint. That is the anchor of your mind. That is how you return to your design. If you do not yet have one, create it today. Not tomorrow, not next month, today. Write it, speak it, repeat it, plant it so deep in your spirit that nothing can pull it out. Because when you have a chief aim, you stop floating. You stop doubting. You stop wondering what you are here for. You begin to walk in straight lines. You begin to speak like a man who is obeying orders, not from men, but from God. There is nothing more dangerous than a man who believes he was born to lose. He spreads that poison wherever he goes. He contaminates the minds of the young. He drifts through life cursing the very gifts he was too lazy to unwrap. Do not become that man. And if you already are, leave him behind today. He is not your true self. He is a mask stitched together by fear, worn by habit, and mistaken for identity. But masks can be removed. Habits can be broken, and new thoughts can be chosen. Speak this with me now. Not with your lips alone, but with your decision. I was not born for fear. I was not born for retreat. I was born for faith, for vision, for victory. I was formed by intelligence, and I will obey that design. I choose to believe. I choose to act. I choose to rise. You have been lied to by circumstance. You have been whispered to by doubt. You have been visited by discouragement. But today you rise with the truth. You were not made to fail. You were formed for triumph. And every step you take in obedience to that truth will bring you closer to the man you were meant to be. Let us move forward. Part 3. Every thought attracts its relatives. Choose your family carefully. A single thought never travels alone. It brings its companions. A word of fear never stands still. It calls its cousins of doubt, delay, hesitation, and despair. A single complaint opens the gates for bitterness, blame, envy, and apathy. And once they are in, they begin to build. They make a home in your mind, and they do not leave unless they are cast out by force. This is law. Just as a magnet attracts iron, the mind attracts its own kind. If you allow one lazy thought to linger, you have just invited weakness. If you permit one fearful sentence to be spoken aloud, you have given permission for others to enter. Thought is not passive. It is magnetic. And the strongest one, positive or negative, becomes the center of your mental gravity. Do you understand what this means? It means that you are never entertaining a harmless thought. Every thought, however small, is shaping your mental environment. It is either inviting power or permitting poison. It is either calling friends of strength or welcoming the enemies of progress. There is no neutrality in thought. This is why you must become a gatekeeper. You must guard your mental estate like a fortress. No general allows spies into his ranks. No king invites traitors into his court. Why then do you allow complaint, sarcasm, self-pity, and fear to walk freely in your mind as if they belong? Let me make this plain. A man's failure begins in the moment he tolerates a thought unworthy of his purpose. The road to defeat is not paved with catastrophe. It is paved with small, quiet compromises. It begins with one whisper. I can't. I'm tired. It's too late. What's the use? And those whispers do not die. They multiply. They gather. And soon they take command. But the same law works for power. If you speak faith once, it calls forth confidence. If you speak gratitude, it calls forth opportunity. If you speak purpose, it attracts ideas. If you speak your chief aim aloud each day, you summon plans, allies, and invisible assistance. Every positive thought sincerely held becomes the father of action, and every action becomes a builder of identity. You may think you are too weak to believe strongly, but belief does not begin in strength. Belief begins in repetition. Speak the same truth again and again, and your subconscious will begin to accept it as law. And once the subconscious believes, it will begin to attract everything needed to prove it true. Let me give you a picture. Imagine you are planting a seed in your garden. That seed is your thought. You can choose what kind of seed to plant, faith or fear. Now understand this. The soil does not care. The soil will grow whatever you place in it. Your subconscious mind is like that soil. If you plant complaint, it will grow it. If you plant purpose, it will grow that too. But the choice is yours. Now let us turn to your daily habits. How many thoughts go unchecked? How many small sentences pass through your lips each day without your approval? This always happens to me. I'll never be good at this. Life is just unfair. Each of those is a seed. Each of them brings relatives, and together they become your reality. I challenge you. Begin counting your thoughts as you would count your coins. Do not spend them carelessly. Speak no sentence that you would not be willing to see made flesh in your life. For every sentence is a request. Every word is a builder. Every thought is a magnet. You may ask, how can I stop these thoughts? They come uninvited. And I say to you, you cannot always control the first thought, but you are always responsible for the second. The first may knock, but it only enters if you let it speak. And if you let it speak, it will build. So interrupt it, deny it, replace it. Let me give you an exercise. Each morning, choose one dominant positive thought. Speak it aloud, write it, repeat it until it becomes emotion. And throughout the day, whenever a contrary thought appears, stop and say, that is not my thought. That is not part of my purpose. Then return to your dominant thought. This is how you train the mind to attract its rightful family. Remember, you do not need to eliminate every negative thought at once. You need only plant stronger ones. And the strong will outgrow the weak. The bold will overtake the timid. The definite will drive out the vague. You win by addition, not by subtraction. Do not expect results in a day. This is the work of character, not convenience. But I promise you this, if you repeat this practice with sincerity, your entire life will change, not by chance, but by law. The law of mental attraction, the law of faith, the law of definiteness. Now speak this with me, not with hesitation, but with boldness. I do not think by accident. I think by decision. I plant only what I want to grow. I attract only what builds. I reject every mental visitor who does not serve my chief aim. I choose my thoughts the way a king chooses his counsel. I permit only power to enter. Understand this. The quality of your life is the average of your dominant thoughts. You cannot escape this truth. The man who thinks small, drifts small, speaks small, will live small. The man who thinks high, who repeats faith, who plants clarity, he will live in harmony with the law that rewards obedience. So I leave you with this warning and this promise. What you think repeatedly, you become permanently. And every single thought brings its brothers. Choose your mental family carefully. Let us move forward. Part 4. Every situation is a fork in the road. Every man walks through life with the same truth set before him. No event has any meaning except the meaning he assigns to it. One man faces hardship and curses the heavens. Another faces the same trial and says, "This too shall lift me higher." The difference is not in fate. It is in interpretation. This is the law that separates the drifter from the builder. There is no such thing as a final defeat. There is only a temporary testing ground, a moment in which you are offered two roads. The first road is complaint, retreat, bitterness, and blame. It leads to more confusion. The second is acceptance, clarity, decision, and determination. It leads to power, and you choose which road to take in every moment. Most men believe they are shaped by circumstance. That is false. Men are shaped by their mental response to circumstance. One man loses his job and loses his mind. Another loses the same job and says, "Now I am free to build what I was born for." One sinks. The other rises. Why? Because one obeys fear, the other obeys purpose. Let me give you the law. Circumstance has no power. It is the thought you attach to it that grants it strength. Every experience in your life is an empty shell until your thinking breathes meaning into it. And you alone hold the authority to say, this event shall build me, or this event shall break me, and whichever you choose will become true. Do not forget this. It is one of the most dangerous forms of drift to assume that events are the cause of your sorrow. That is a lie. It is your mind's verdict that makes it so. You are the judge. You are the interpreter. You are the one assigning value. And if you assign weakness, you will inherit weakness. If you assign strength, you will inherit strength. Let me tell you what happens when you begin to think accurately. You stop reacting to life and you begin creating through it. You see doors where others see walls. You find lessons where others find losses. You become a master of meaning. And when you become the master of meaning, you become the master of momentum. Let me offer an image. Life hands you bricks, some smooth, some jagged. Most men curse the bricks and throw them away. But the wise man stacks them, builds with them, uses every one, even the broken, to erect the structure of his success. Because he does not see bricks, he sees opportunity. One of the great secrets of every victorious man is this. He decides what a thing means before the world can tell him what to think. He does not wait for public opinion. He does not consult emotion. He speaks first. This is good for me. This is working for my good. This will reveal my strength. And because he says it and believes it and acts on it, the world obeys him. Understand, life is not happening to you. It is responding through you. Every single moment is waiting for your mental verdict. Will you assign fear or faith? Will you assign power or paralysis? Will you say, I am ruined or I am refined? Let me give you an example. A man is betrayed by one he trusted. He has two choices. First, to say, people cannot be trusted and life is cruel. That choice makes him bitter, suspicious, and small. Second, to say, this has taught me to choose my circle with greater wisdom. I will rise with discernment. That choice makes him wise, focused, and strong. Another example, a man fails in business. First response, I'm not cut out for this. He quits, loses identity, becomes a shell of what he could have been. Second response, this is not a failure, this is feedback. Now I know what not to do, I begin again, wiser. That man becomes a success, not in spite of the fall, but because of it. And now I ask you, what in your life have you been calling tragedy when it is really training? What setback have you labeled as sabotage when it is really shaping? What pain have you cursed when it was sent to cut away your weakness? You must begin seeing differently. You must become a thinker, not a reactor. You must become the man who says, I assign meaning here, not my fears, not the crowd, not the news, not my past. I alone determine what this moment shall become. Speak this now. Make it law in your spirit. No event decides my future. I decide. I assign power. I give name. I choose what this moment becomes. I will not be a servant to condition. I will be a master of interpretation. You must believe this with your whole being, because if you don't, then every storm will carry you off. Every opinion will twist your direction. Every delay will rob you of belief. But once you fix your thought, once you decide in advance that everything is building you, then no force on earth can stop you. This is the gift of accurate thinking. You begin to strip every lie, every fear, every exaggeration from your mind. You ask, what is the fact? Then you ask, what meaning shall I assign to this fact that will advance me? And that simple process, repeated, turns your life into a mechanism of power. Let me be very clear. You were not made to live by reaction. You were made to live by decision. Every thought you think must be chosen. Every belief you hold must be built. Every interpretation must be aligned with your chief aim. If not, you are building for someone else's kingdom. Now say this with me, not as poetry, as principle. I give power only to what builds me. I refuse to kneel before conditions. I assign meaning with intention. I interpret every hardship as refinement. I decide the value of this moment, and I decide that it shall make me stronger. You are not here to drift. You are not here to react. You are here to decide. Let us move forward. Part 5. Negative thought is a poison, and you are the one administering it. Negative thought is not simply an inconvenience. It is not just a bad habit or an unfortunate mood. Negative thought is poison, and worse yet, it is self-administered. Every time you entertain doubt, every time you repeat fear, every time you give voice to complaint, you are drinking from your own cup of suffering, and you are doing it by choice. I will tell you what most men will never admit. They are addicted to their own misery. They wear it like armor. They speak it like truth. They protect it like treasure. They do not want to be free. They want to be justified. Their sorrow gives them identity. Their bitterness gives them an excuse, and their complaints give them company. But hear this now. No man can rise on a lie. And the greatest lie is this: I am negative because of what has happened to me. That is false. You are negative because you have chosen not to discipline your mind. You are negative because you find comfort in avoiding responsibility. You are negative because it is easier than faith. Let me strike this belief from your soul. You are not a victim of your thoughts. You are their author. You wrote them. You spoke them. You repeated them. And now they speak back to you. You feel them not because they are true, but because you have made them familiar. Many will defend their sadness before they will defend their success. Why? Because sadness makes no demands. It asks for nothing but sympathy. But success demands obedience. It demands silence, sacrifice, and discipline. That is why most men choose bitterness, not because it is better, but because it is easier. Let me now tell you what you must hear, whether you like it or not. You will remain stuck as long as you protect your sorrow. You will remain small as long as you identify with defeat. You will repeat the same failures until you stop repeating the same thoughts. Negativity is not native to you. You were not born bitter. You were not born hopeless. You were not born afraid. You learned those patterns. You practiced those thoughts. And now, like a man who has learned to limp, you have forgotten that you were made to run. But the mind can unlearn what it has repeated. It can be cleaned, sharpened, and made new. But you must burn the false identity. You must destroy every sentence that begins with "I can't." You must abandon every statement that makes weakness look like wisdom. Hear this now. There is no honor in despair. There is no nobility in complaint. There is no virtue in self-pity. You do not inspire anyone by playing small. You do not uplift others by sinking. You do not prove anything by repeating your wounds. You must become ruthless with your thoughts. You must throw out every phrase that poisons your future. You must say aloud, "That is not mine. That is not who I am. That thought is an intruder. It does not belong in the mind of a builder." This is not easy, but it is necessary, because if you do not destroy those thoughts, they will destroy you, and not with a loud explosion, but with slow decay, one excuse at a time, one sigh at a time, one day at a time, until you no longer remember what power feels like. Now ask yourself this: have I grown fond of my misery? Has it become my identity? If so, cast it off. Do not reason with it. Do not explain it. Do not entertain it. Destroy it. Replace it with the statement of the builder: I will, I can, I am. I say again, you cannot think like a victim and live like a victor. You cannot entertain defeat and walk in power. You cannot speak darkness and expect light. The law will not bend for you. You must bend to it. I speak to you now with urgency, because I know what happens when a man listens to sorrow more than truth. He withers. He fades. He becomes a shadow of the fire he was born to carry. But I also know what happens when a man rises and says, "No more." He becomes a force, and that force reshapes his destiny. Speak this now, not as a whisper, but as a declaration of war. I reject the identity of sorrow. I am not complaint. I am command. I do not speak as a victim. I speak as a builder. My thoughts are chosen with intention. My life is shaped by law, and I obey the law of power. That is your new identity. You no longer serve your weakness. You no longer feed your fears. You no longer honor the thoughts that dishonor your purpose. You were born to build. And no builder can carry poison in his pocket and expect to finish the temple. Cast it out. Burn it. Replace it with the words of strength, and repeat those words until they become flesh. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not your pain. You are what you choose to become in thought. And the man who chooses power, no matter how late, will find that life still obeys him. Let us move forward. Part 6, the silent law, you reap what you speak. Words are not harmless. They are builders. They are architects. They are the invisible instructions that shape the visible world. Every word you speak, whether in power or weakness, becomes an order you issue to the subconscious mind, and the subconscious obeys, not with judgment, not with debate, but with precision. You may not realize it, but you are praying every day. Every sentence is a prayer. A complaint is a prayer for more difficulty. A fearful statement is a request for more doubt. A sarcastic remark is a seed of cynicism. And the law of autosuggestion hears it all. What you speak consistently, you program into the blueprint of your identity. Let me give you the law plainly. The subconscious mind does not distinguish between a joke and a command. It only hears what you say repeatedly, and it begins to build your character, your behavior, and your habits from the substance of your words. This is not philosophy. This is spiritual mechanics. I have seen men build their own prisons with their tongue. I have watched them speak weakness day after day, and then act surprised when weakness shows up at their door. They say, "I knew this would happen." Of course they did. They called it forth with their own voice. You must understand this. Speech is the bridge between thought and reality. When you speak, you confirm what you believe. And when you confirm it often enough, the subconscious believes it too. Once the subconscious accepts it, it begins to shape your actions, your perceptions, and your destiny. This is why I teach the daily repetition of affirmations, not for entertainment, but for mastery. Edison used this law. He declared the possibility of the electric light long before it existed. Carnegie used this law. He repeated his belief in men, in discipline, in wealth, until the world believed it with him. And I myself obeyed this law when I declared the truths that became think and grow rich. You must become the high priest of your own mind. You must speak only what you wish to receive. You must speak only what you intend to build. Every sentence must serve your chief aim, or it must be discarded as noise. Do not speak idly. Do not speak habitually. Speak deliberately. Now let me warn you, most men do not guard their words. They speak from feeling, not from decision. They say, "I'm tired. I'm broke. I can't win. Nothing ever works for me." And then they ask why they remain in the same place. The answer is simple. They are living in the house built by their own voice. If you want to rise, you must speak like a man who expects to rise. You must declare the result before it appears. You must say, "I am focused. I am strong. I am a builder. I am guided. I am persistent. I am wealthy in mind and soon in form." Not because it is easy, but because it is law. Let me make it clear. Words are not positive because they sound nice. They are positive when they align with purpose, decision, and belief. And when they are repeated with emotion, they become instructions for the subconscious. When spoken consistently, they begin to form your identity. And when identity changes, results change. Now I must ask you, what words do you repeat daily? Are they words of power or words of pity? Are you speaking your future or reinforcing your past? Are you building faith or building fear? Speak this with me now, not as ritual, but as command. What I speak, I believe. What I believe, I become. What I become, I command. My words are builders. My voice is power. I do not speak weakness. I do not speak limitation. I speak only what serves my aim. From this moment forward, you must make your speech sacred. You must treat your words as law. You must never again say what you do not wish to become. If you would not build it, do not speak it. If you would not live it, do not voice it. When you catch yourself saying something that does not align with your purpose, stop and replace it. Say aloud, "That is not my truth. I speak only what builds. I speak only what serves." And do this repeatedly until your tongue becomes an instrument of design, not of destruction. Let me offer you a daily practice. Each morning before you begin your work, declare 3 statements of power. They must be personal, purposeful, and positive. For example, I direct my mind with purpose today. I am aligned with infinite intelligence. I build success through thought, speech, and action. Repeat these until they live in your body, until they shape your tone, your posture, your decisions, until you walk as a man possessed by purpose. You may think this is foolish. That's fine. But I have seen more success built from bold speech than from cautious silence. I have seen more men rise by commanding their subconscious than by waiting for permission from others. You may doubt this law, but this law does not doubt you. It will shape your life, whether you know it or not. So decide now, will you speak power or will you speak poison? Will you speak fear or will you speak faith? Will your words be the keys to your freedom or the chains of your failure? Because one thing is certain, you will reap what you speak. Let us move forward. Part 7, the exercise, catch, and command, every negative thought. Now that you understand the law, that your thoughts become things, that your words shape reality, and that your mental attitude is your only real master, you must be given a tool, a practical tool, not a theory, not an idea, but a discipline, an exercise, a method to cleanse the mind and train it to obey you. It is simple, it is powerful, and if done daily, it will begin to transform your life from the inside out. But if ignored, no amount of reading, wishing, or praying will deliver you from drift. This exercise is the key to building a new identity. I call it the 4-step command method. Catch, reject, replace, repeat. Let me now speak each step clearly. You must hear it, understand it, and begin it today. Step 1, catch. The first step is awareness. You must begin to catch every negative thought in the moment it appears, not after the damage is done, not once it has turned into mood or reaction or failure, but immediately. This requires that you become a watcher of your own mind. Listen to your thoughts. Feel the tone. When you hear, "This won't work," or "I'm not ready," or "Why me?" stop right there. Do not let it pass unchallenged. Interrupt it. Say, "That is not my thought. It may have entered your mind, but it does not belong there. It is an intruder, and you are the guard." Step 2, reject. Once the thought has been caught, you must reject it. Not passively, not silently, but with voice and authority. Say out loud if you are able, "I reject that thought. That is not part of who I am. That thought does not serve my definite chief aim." Speak it with power. You are not having a conversation. You are issuing a command. You are driving out weakness. You are stripping the old identity. You are refusing entry to fear, to doubt, to complaint, to envy. This is the work of self-mastery. Step 3, replace. Now the space must be filled. If you do not replace the thought, the old one will return. You cannot leave the garden empty. You must plant a better seed. Speak a thought of power, faith, or clarity, something aligned with your aim. If you caught the thought, "I can't do this," you replace it with, "I am prepared. I was born for this." If the thought was, "Nothing ever works," you say, "Everything I need is on its way. I succeed through persistence." You speak it aloud. You speak it with energy. You speak it until your body begins to shift, until your tone carries certainty, until you believe it. even if only 1% more than the fear. Step 4, repeat. And now you repeat it. That is the final law. One rejection is not enough. You must rehearse the truth. Repetition is power. Repetition builds belief. Repetition is the bridge between what you desire and who you become. Do not just say it once and walk away. Say it again and again and again. Let it burn into your subconscious like fire into wood. Let it echo in your mind so often that it becomes your new default. This is how every successful man you admire reprogrammed his inner world. Not through ease, through discipline, not once, but daily. Not with curiosity, but with conviction. Let me now walk you through a full example. Listen closely. You are facing a difficult task. Your old habit says, I'm not ready for this. I've never done this before. Step 1, catch. You pause. You say, that is not my thought. That is weakness. Step 2, reject. You say aloud, I reject this lie. I do not obey fear. Step 3, replace. You say, I am ready. I learned quickly. I was made for victory. Step 4, repeat. You repeat that phrase until your tone changes, your spine straightens, and your energy returns. And now you move forward, not with hesitation, but with decision. You may say, but the thought keeps coming back. Of course it does. Thoughts that have been repeated for years do not vanish overnight. They must be replaced through deliberate training. The same way you would train a wild horse to obey the reins, you must train your mind to obey you. And here is the greatest truth. The more you do it, the faster it works. The stronger you get, the clearer you become, the more power you feel, because repetition reprograms rhythm, and rhythm becomes your new identity. Soon, you will no longer have to catch the thought. It will stop entering. Why? Because your subconscious will already know the pattern. It will already believe the new truth. And once the subconscious accepts it, life begins to conform to it. Now hear this warning. If you do not do this daily, you will drift back into the old identity. You will speak the old language. You will feel the old feelings. And you will wonder why nothing changes. But if you do this, just this, with consistency, you will begin to separate from the masses. You will feel yourself walking in a different current. You will become untouchable to complaint, immune to fear, aligned with power. This is your exercise. Do it in the morning before the world speaks. Do it in the afternoon when distraction strikes. Do it at night before sleep, so your final thoughts are builders, not destroyers. Catch, reject, replace, repeat. Now speak this aloud with me as one who is done drifting. I see the lie. I command the truth. I reject fear. I speak faith. I build thought. I build life. I am not my feelings. I am my decisions. I do not drift. I direct. I do not obey weakness. I build in strength. My thoughts are my tools. My words are my builders. My identity is formed by my commands. This is the discipline of success. It is not complicated, but it is rare. Few will do it, but those who do change their lives completely. Let us move forward. Part 8. Repetition is power. Speak until the new you is built. You have now come to the threshold, the place where knowledge must become ritual, and ritual must become identity. You've learned the laws, you've seen the traps, you've heard the voice of weakness and the voice of strength. But only one thing determines which of them will rule your life: what you repeat. Everything you are today, your attitude, your confidence, your habits, your results, is the product of repeated thought. Not once, not occasionally, but daily, hourly, moment by moment. You have either been repeating defeat or repeating dominion. And the world, being neutral, reflects back whatever you have most consistently told it to reflect. Repetition is the great builder of character. It is the tool of infinite intelligence. It is the law behind all growth, all rhythm, all power. And those who understand it, those who use it with intention, become unstoppable. Because they no longer ask, how do I feel today? They ask, what must I repeat today? You do not rise by trying to remember what is true. You rise by saying it until it becomes flesh. until it is no longer a statement you recite, but a conviction you carry, until it becomes impossible for your mind to think otherwise. This is the law of cosmic habit force, the law that governs all mental rhythm, the law that says what you repeat with emotion becomes fixed. What becomes fixed becomes your identity, and your identity dictates your results. You do not need to fight your old self. You only need to replace him, and the tool of replacement is repetition. The same thought, spoken aloud, charged with belief, anchored to your chief aim, repeated again and again until it carves a new groove in the mind. And I tell you, once the new groove is carved, the old self has no power. He dies, not in one blow, but in 1,000 ignored temptations. He disappears, not by war, but by disuse, and a new self begins to emerge. Let me speak clearly to the part of you that doubts. You will not become powerful by watching a speech. You will not become bold by listening once. You will become bold by declaring, affirming, reciting, repeating, day after day after day, until the old voice is drowned beneath the sound of the new one. The world will still whisper to you. The fear will try to return. The weakness will try to disguise itself as reason. But the man who is rooted in repetition does not fall back, because the truth has been spoken so many times it becomes instinct. This is why I command you now, choose your declarations. Choose the phrases that will build your new mind. Choose the words that will feed your subconscious and write your destiny. Do not choose vague affirmations. Choose declarations tied to your chief aim. Say them with energy. Say them as if your life depends on it, because it does. And say them every day, without fail, without exception, without excuse. You will rise only to the level of what you repeat under pressure. And repetition under pressure becomes identity under fire. That is the mark of a builder. That is how you speak yourself into power. Let me now give you a formula, a final ritual to anchor in the law. The daily ritual of repetition. Morning. Before you speak to the world, speak to your subconscious. Look in the mirror. Speak your chief aim aloud. Recite your identity affirmations. Command the direction of your day. Make the first voice you hear the voice of power. Midday, when the noise of life begins to distract, stop. Go silent. Repeat a short declaration of certainty. Reset your mind to purpose. This is not weakness. This is discipline. This is how the builder keeps his thoughts aligned. Evening. Before you sleep, speak again. Recite your declaration. Review your victories. Repeat who you are becoming. Your final thoughts will echo through the night and build your belief while you rest. You are not here to dabble in success. You are here to condition your soul to obey law, to speak yourself into a new state of being, to burn the old mind and build the new through conscious, unrelenting repetition. Do not worry about the voice that says, "This is foolish." That is the voice of the man you used to be. Let him speak once, then silence him with your next declaration, and another, until he fades. Do not ask, "When will this work?" That is not your business. Your business is to repeat the law. The law will work when you have obeyed it enough. The law never fails. But most men fail to keep speaking long enough for the law to fulfill. Now I give you the final words, not for performance, not for feeling, but for practice. Say them daily. Say them until you believe them. Say them until you act from them. Say them until they are no longer affirmations, but your very nature. Final declaration, spoken aloud slowly, daily. This day I begin again, and I burn the old mind. I speak the new. I repeat until belief. I believe until action. I act until victory. My thoughts are mine. My words are law. My identity is chosen, and I was formed to rise. I repeat this truth until I become it, and I will become it because I will never stop repeating. Now listen closely. If you repeat this ritual, your life will change, not by magic, not by accident, but by law. And if you neglect it, you will return to what you were, not because you are cursed, but because you refuse to speak the truth long enough to replace the lie. So I ask you now, will you rise or will you remain? Will you repeat your fear or will you repeat your faith? The power is in your hands. The law is written in your soul. Now go and build the man you were born to become. Let us begin again. Let us move forward. Let us speak. Let us build.